Sup friendos, I'm Kamishi and I don't use add-ons. For a bit of context for the video, a while ago I was playing Survivor with some of my friends and I thought to myself that I want to play Huntress, but I am not particularly good with her. The same match we went up against perhaps the strongest player I have ever met, who was playing, you guessed it, Huntress. The map was RPD, but even that didn't stop this player from popping off. This player single-handedly showed me how high the skill ceiling for Huntress is. And that settled it. I decided that I was going to play Huntress for 1 month straight. Here's how it went. Hey, if you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. It helps out a lot and I would really appreciate it. That's all, I hope you enjoyed the video. Now when I started playing Huntress, it didn't go well. I had no prior knowledge about the killer before starting the challenge. I have no footage, but believe me when I say it was horrible. It would most likely make you click off this video. In other words, bad. So I spent the following day researching how to play as Huntress. And let me tell you, she is a gold mine full of information. So let's start with perks. First of all, let's talk about which perks she doesn't work with. She's a slow killer who walks at 110% movement speed. Due to this, you want to walk around the map as little as possible, making gen slowdown perks where you have to personally go to a gen such as Eruption or Call of Brine useless, even though nobody uses Call of Brine anyway. Then you have perks that require the player to use a basic attack such as Sloppy Butcher or Jolt. These are often a bad choice due to the fact that most of the time her ability is a better choice than her basic attack for attacking, making you get less value from these perks. Those are the big categories, but there are other perks that can be a less valuable pick than others. But let's talk about which perks are good for her now. First of all, we have information perks such as Barbecue and Chili and Darkness Revealed, which are a huge help due to the slow movement speed she has, saving you a huge chunk of time by making you not have to walk to places only for you to find out no one was there to begin with. Then you have perks known as slowdown perks, which slows down the process of the survivor's objectives, for example Deadlocked or No Way Out. These also help a lot, mainly due to, once again, the Huntress' slow movement speed. There are both perks within the categories that I've talked about, and outside of them as well, but I can't mention them all, so I will briefly mention a few that I recommend. Iron Maiden, primarily because you open lockers 50% faster. Lethal Pursuer, you see the auras of all survivors at the start of the match, and all other aura reading you have is extended by 2 seconds. Darkness Revealed, you open a locker and you see auras of survivors within close proximity of any locker. Deadlocked, when the generator is finished, the generator with the most progress is blocked for a while. Thrilling Tremors, after picking up a survivor, all generators that are not currently being repaired are blocked for a few seconds. This slows down and gives information to the killer about where survivors are. Discordance, when 2 or more survivors are working on the same generator, the generator is shown in a yellow aura to the killer if within range. Hex, Blood Favor, when a survivor takes damage, all pallets within a close proximity are blocked. Perks like this are good because it forces the survivors into going into a straight line, which makes your shots easier to land. Now it's time for some tips and tricks. When starting to play the Hunter, she can be kind of awkward to play, and you might miss a lot of your shots. I personally recommend using a crosshair in the beginning so you can get used to the trajectory of the shots. There exist programs for this and they don't count as cheating, and with it, it shouldn't take long before you can play without it. Once you feel comfortable with the hatches and their trajectory, you can start sniping, aka cross-map hatchets, which is when you throw a hatchet a long distance, sometimes across the map, hence its name. Our perks such as Bitter Murmur help a lot with these shots. Another thing that is good to know is that it takes longer for you to recover after your basic attack than with your ability. In other words, it is most of the time actually better to throw a hatchet in close range than to do a basic attack. If they are healthy, of course. If the survivor you're up against knows what they're doing, it can be hard to hit them. So sometimes it might just be better to use your basic attack. And oh yeah, keep an eye out for how many hatchets you have before doing this. That is something you should always do. Speaking of which, you should always keep an eye out for how many hatchets you have, because you don't want to engage in a chase with too few hatchets. Something else that is worth knowing is that most of the objects in Dead by Daylight have the same hitbox as their appearance, with a few exceptions such as generators and a few others. This makes you able to throw hatchets through unexpected places. There exist a lot of these gaps, and it's best for you to try it out yourself and learn which is the most optimal. Experiment a bit. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you're chasing a survivor in a big open area, which happens a lot, the survivor becomes an easy target for you and your hatchets. The survivor knows this and will try to sway your aim by going side to side. In a situation like this, aim somewhere in the middle of where the survivor is going and try to find a pattern and throw when you're pretty sure they are going to walk into where you're aiming. Something that I should have mentioned already is that you charge your shots as the Huntress, and when it reaches max charge you hear a ding! A fully charged hatchet goes almost straight and is really fast. Survivors hear this ding as well. I feel like this is obvious, but just in case. Next up, if a survivor drops a pallet, or vaults a pallet, or window, it will most often result in a free hit from you with your hatchet. If you know this, you can use something called zoning, which is basically where you aim your hatchet somewhere during a chase to make the survivor not walk there. And if they do, you punish them. You can use this to control where the survivor is going. One final thing that I should mention is how map reliant she is. She is one of the most map reliant killers the game has to offer, making her not a good pick on every map. But unless you use a map offering, you have no control over which map you'll play on, and even if you use a map offering, other players can still use one too, or a sacrificial ward. This does not mean that you should give up because it's a bad map. In every match you have a chance to get better, and as I said before, you can learn different gaps where you can throw your hatchets. But what I'm more after is that if it goes bad on one of these maps, it might not be as much your fault, and that you should not get disappointed in your performance when it might just be bad RNG. Now, I'm not really one to talk about add-ons, but I know that the majority of players use them, so I'll talk about them real quick. The add-ons are some of the most balanced in the game, with a reason to use them even within the lower tiers. And if you're confident, you can mix it up with her iridescent hatchet add-on. I and most other players recommend either her wind-up add-ons, which reduces the time required to charge hatchets, or her recovery add-ons, which makes you recover faster after a hatchet throw. Before we dig into these clips of the results of me playing Huntress for 1 month, there is something I need to apologize for. In these clips, my face cam is in the most obnoxious place possible, in front of the survivor UI, making you, the viewer, have to look into the top right corner to get confirmation that I actually hit someone. Now I know that this is a horrible crime and that nobody will accept this apology. I deserve the death sentence for this. But I will now move on with the video and hope that at least somebody will accept this apology. So there we have it. That's the result of me playing the Huntress for 1 month straight. Now what do I think of the killer? Well, she certainly has her ups and downs, both stat wise but also gameplay wise. When playing her highs are high and the lows are low. Hitting a sick shot feels amazing, but missing a simple shot, no matter if it's your fault or not, feels horrible and is incredibly punishing. And then the fact that she is one of the most map dependent killers in the game doesn't make this better. But that being said, I really like this killer due to how rewarding she is. And that's it. Thanks for watching, have a wonderful day, and don't forget, good luck, have fun.